drawings. And she bought this to wear to, I mean, it was a couture, so it was made for her. And where we
so many of the pieces she's donated to us were worn in those contexts. And I think that's
more, but I'm so
Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to Natural Resource Committee. I'm Senator Bruce Bostman from Brainerd, representing the 23rd Legislative District, and I serve as chair of the committee. Today, the committee will take up several gubernatorial appointments to boards and commissions in the order posted. If you are testifying today on one of these appointments, please fill out one of the green testifier sheets that are on the table at the back of the room. Be sure to print clearly and fill it out completely. When it is your turn to come forward to testify, give the testifier sheet to the page or to the committee clerk. When you come up to testify, please speak clearly into the microphone. Tell us your name and spell your first and last name to ensure we get an accurate record. First, we will begin each hearing with the appointee's opening statement to introduce themselves to the committee, followed by any questions the committee members may have of the appointee. And finally, we will hear from anyone wishing to speak as a proponent or opponent on that appointee. For those testifiers, we will be using a 3-minute light system. When you begin your testimony, the light on the table will be green. When the red light comes on, you have 1 minute remaining. And when the red light indicates you need to wrap up your final thought and stop. Questions from the committee may follow. Also, committee members may come and go during the hearing. This is just part of the process. Senators may just a reminder to please silence or turn off your cell phones, and that verbal outbursts or applause are not permitted in the hearing room. Such behavior may cause for you to be asked to leave the hearing. The committee members with us today will introduce themselves, starting on my far right.
My name is Senator Mike Jacobson, District 42, and I'm just having my lunch.
Oh, God, sorry. Very healthy lunch. Senator Jana Hughes, District 24, Seward, York, Polk, and a little bit of Butler County.
Mike Moser, District 22. It's Platte County and most of Stanton County.
Senator Moser also serves as the vice chair of the committee. Also, my left is committee legal counsel Cindy Lamb, and to my far left is our committee clerk Lori Vollertson. Our page for the committee today is Julie Scalpo. Thank you very much for being here today and helping us out. Appreciate that. With that, we will start our hearings today with our first one, which is Allison Willis, a gubernatorial appointment to the Environmental Quality Council. Allison, please step up. So good afternoon, welcome.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, I am Allison Willis. I am with AGP. I've been with AGP since 2007. And in that over 17 years with the soybean processing and soy-based biofuel industry, I'm aware of the crucial balance between agribusiness needs and environmental stewardship. So my commitment lies in advocating for responsible practices that benefit everyone in our state.
Excuse me, Allison, could I spell your first and last name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Allison, first name, last name Willis, Willis.
Thank you.
My interest in serving on the EPC is driven by what I feel is the important relationship between agricultural interests and environmental protection. Throughout my career, I've been involved in a ton of air and water permitting for our plants and also ensuring that all of our plants are in compliance with all applicable environmental regulations. So I have seen firsthand the positive impact that proactive environmental policies can have on our agricultural sector and our communities, the health of our communities. Given agriculture's significant role in Nebraska's economy, integrating the voices of farmers and other key stakeholders into environmental policy is vital. By advocating for policies that strike a balance between agricultural interests, agribusiness, environmental protection, and community well-being, I believe we can pave the way for a more resilient and sustainable future for our state. So I certainly appreciate this opportunity and would look forward to collaborating with fellow council members and stakeholders.
Thank you for your testimony, for being in here today. Questions from committee members? Sir Jacobson.
Thank you, Chair Bostelman. Ms. Willis, I'm curious, you talk about balance and sustainability and all those things. Obviously, in the agricultural world today, there are a lot of people that are really attacking agriculture for everything from nitrate problems to you name it. What's going to be your posture on this board as it relates to those kinds of issues, and how would you advise the director when it comes to issues such as nitrates and other issues that agriculture is getting a broad brush attack on?
Well, I think a lot of it is misinformation, and I think that education is important in getting the facts out, because that's the only way we're going to prompt change and understanding, so we don't get just broad stroked into this is all bad. Because I really do, agriculture in and of itself is sustainable. It's just getting the messaging out and getting the facts out.
And a follow-up question, if I could, you've indicated you've been working with AGP and working with their environmental side. I'm pretty familiar with AGP's facility in Hastings. In fact, we do some business there. Clearly, the department has come under some attack historically on how they manage certain ethanol plants in particular. But yet, I've always appreciated the balance of recognizing that things can happen, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're intentional and that we're going to shut down businesses simply because something comes up along the way. I'm assuming you've had some experience in that with all the plants you've overseen. Do you have any examples of situations where maybe AGP's had an issue and how those have been resolved?
Yes. So, we have had an issue with facility response plans. We didn't quite have all the components that we needed in place at all of our plants, including Hastings. And we really work closely with the NDEE to resolve those. And they were very understanding of the situation that we were in. And together we worked through those and we got to a point where we were in compliance. So, and we didn't have any interruptions in our plant operations at the same time. So it was a good collaborative effort on both parts to get those resolved.
Well, and I appreciate that answer, and I think that that's probably one of the attributes that I would like to see in all people that are involved in these boards and commissions, that they understand the realities, and obviously you've spent time understand the other side of it, understand that balance. So I appreciate the answer, and look forward to you serving on the commission.
Thank you.
Other questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you for willingness to serve.
Thank you.
I would ask that anyone like to testify as an opponent in support of Allison Willis to appointment of the Environmental Quality Council, please step forward. Any supporters? Seeing none, anyone like to testify in opposition to this gubernatorial appointment? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, anyone like to testify in neutral capacity? Seeing none, we did not receive any comments online, and this will close our hearing of the gubernatorial appointment of Allison Willis to the Environmental Quality Council. The next hearing we'll have is the appointment of Joe Becker to the Environmental Quality Council. And before Ms. Becker starts, if Senator Frederickson would like to introduce himself, he's joined us.
Yes, apologize for my tardiness. My name is John Frederickson. I represent District 20, which is in Central West Omaha.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Senator Bosselman and members of the committee. My name is Jill Becker, spelled Jillbecker, and all of you know me because I'm a lobbyist for Black Hills Energy, which is my current role. Similar to the other testifier, next week I mark 17 years with the company, and prior to that, served as a staffer here in the legislature. I am here representing myself, though, not Black Hills Energy, and I'm actually joining the board as a representative of the industry. In putting together my application for this, I realized that I've served on a lot of boards for nonprofits and for like my kids' school and church, but I haven't actually been on a public board. So that's what this is here today. Don't have a whole lot of familiarity with the council itself up until I was asked. And as an organization, we do seek a few permits from NDE. And so obviously if there were any issues that arose that I would have to abstain from the discussion or recuse myself, I certainly would. But other than that, I don't personally have any interaction with the board. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Questions from committee members? Sir Mosier.
So different members of this committee represent different segments of the business world. And I see you're in the automotive petroleum industry. So in fact, working in the gas business qualifies you as taking that position to represent your body of knowledge that you know from your business when you consider things, in that council. And the previous testifier is representing the ag processing. So, and that's the business that she works in too. So when I first saw this and I saw Jill Becker, I thought, whoa, everything's going to be natural gas. But then after reading the handout, that's the purpose, is to have representatives from industry so that we consider all aspects when we make decisions. So thank you for your willingness to serve. Maybe after hanging around here, I thought maybe you wouldn't even be interested, but anyway, welcome.
Thank you, Senator. I figured there's always a lot for me to learn. And as you mentioned, I will be representing a very broad industry. So looking forward to bringing that perspective to the board.
Thank you.
Other questions? I guess my question kind of touched on a little bit in your when you spoke to us about your position. position, being a lobbyist, how do you see that fits in being on a commission or on a board? That's not typically what we see on members. So
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Admittedly, I, for the organization I represent, have not been involved a whole lot in a lot of the legislation that this council would be implementing. So I guess that would be the connection, is if there is some legislation that this body passes, that then that department would have to implement. And while the council does have involvement in those, we'll say, new regulations, that's a public process governed by the Administrative Procedures Act. So I guess I look at it is an entirely separate function in the sense that it is implementing whatever this legislative body would promulgate, would pass. So.
Okay. Any other questions from committee members? Okay, seeing none.
Thank you.
For your testimony. Willing to serve. Would ask that if any proponents for the appointment of Jill Becker to Environmental Quality Council, please step forward. Any proponents? Seeing none, anyone would like to testify in opposition to the appointment of Ms. Becker to the Environmental Quality Council? Any opposition? Seeing none, anyone would like to testify in neutral capacity? Seeing none, we did not receive any comments for this gubernatorial appointment. Now we'll close our hearing on the gubernatorial appointment of Jill Becker to the Environmental Quality Council. Let Senator Brand introduce himself. He's joined the committee.
Senator Tom Brandt, District 32, Fillmore, Thayer, Jefferson, Saline, and southwestern Lancaster counties.
Thank you. Our next hearing will be the gubernatorial appointment of James Theiler to the Environmental Quality Council. Oh, sorry. Afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chairman Bosman, members of the committee. It's James, James, Theiler, Theiler. It's a good German name, TH there. And so thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. I am looking to take the vacated position of the professional engineer appointment to the Nebraska Environmental Quality Council. I have been a professional engineer in the state of Nebraska for over 25 years. I am currently the Assistant Director of Public Works for the City of Omaha. We have two assistant directors. I do the environmental side of Public Works within the City of Omaha. We handle wastewater treatment, solid waste, flood control, a lot of environmental issues. I've been personally working directly with the NDE for over 2 decades, and we have worked in great partnership as the City of Omaha working closely with the NDE. I believe the time that I have spent working with the NDE, I've witnessed this board in action, and it's really, I'm going to say, to see the different members of the board coming in with their different perspectives and being able to offer those different perspectives that provides that balance people have been talking to. So where you get rural, you get business, you get urban. I, as a professional engineer, will be able to weigh in from that standpoint. That different makeup of the board really provides a great service to the state. And I'm honored to be able to hopefully serve in that capacity. I have witnessed the board in action a few times. The way that they look out for the state as to, here's laws and rules and regulations coming down. And we have to look at this in a way that we cannot over-regulate the people in our state. But we also have to look at it from the standpoint of, if we don't do this, the EPA can come in and make this harder on us. And seeing that board in action and providing that balance that's protecting these important businesses in our state. I'm just truly honored to be able to hopefully be a part of that.
Questions for committee members? Have you had the opportunity to sit in on any previous meetings? I see the appointments as of March 19th, so.
I did sit in on the last meeting that was in, I believe it was November. I sat in on that meeting as a, just as a member of the public. We have, as a City of Omaha, we have led tours of the committee. They would come up and see what we were doing with the City of Omaha, primarily with our combined sewer system and that program that is unique in the state of Nebraska and costly for our ratepayers. So I have witnessed the board in action, both as us providing information to the board and also just sitting as a member of the general public in the board meetings.
Are there any things that you see currently? I don't know if you had done much research within the council itself, anything that you see changes or additions, things that you see that you're interested in? Or?
You know, my big interest is, my big interest is making sure that as a board, we provide what we need to the NDE to make sure that we do what we need to do to protect human health and the environment, but at the same time, do not over-regulate, have common sense regulations that make these rules and regulations do what they need to do without overburdening the members of the citizens of the state.
And I think there's just a couple meetings a year that they have, is that right?
My understanding is that at one time it was 4. Last few years it's been 2. I don't know if they intend to go back to 4, but 2 to 4 meetings a year. Information in advance to know what we're going to be talking about, and they make important decisions for the state. So I'm honored to be able to have this opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Sir Jacobson?
Thank you, Chairman Busselman. Mr. Theiler, I guess I'd like to ask you maybe the similar question as I did of Ms. Willis. So you've spent time, obviously had some interaction with NDE as it relates to your role in Omaha. Can you think of any particular situations where there was an issue with the NDE, and can you tell me how you went through resolving that?
Yeah, so we're a big city. We have lots of problems, and we've had our issues where sometimes we'll have an issue with I'll just say, let's use an example like a stormwater permit, and we may have had a few things out of line. And as long as what we've been doing as to the NDE is, hey, we may not be getting everything perfect, but we're showing commitment and we're showing progress toward what we're supposed to be achieving. And then the NDE themselves, you know, they took a shift a few years ago to really focus not necessarily on enforcement, but compliance assistance. You know, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to help you get in compliance. And that's the way we work with them. So is that what you're
That's exactly what I wanted to hear, and it's exactly the answer I wanted to hear, so thank you.
Okay.
Other questions? That's our motion.
So does Omaha still have combined sewer and drain water systems?
Sure. So I've been working with the city of Omaha's combined sewer system since 2005. The system itself will never be completely separated. That's not the goal of the federal combined sewer program. The goal is to make sure that at the end of those combined pipes, we do everything we can to minimize the number of pollutants. So it's a water quality program, and Omaha will always have combined sewers. We're putting in more and more efforts to separate some of those sewers, and where we cannot separate those sewers, we're adding advanced treatment only when it rains in certain places, so the pollutants from the combined sewers don't make it to the rivers and streams.
Okay, great. Thank you for that answer.
Sure.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Theiler?
Theiler.
Thank you very much for your willing to speak today. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask anyone would like to come up and testify in support of the gubernatorial appointment of James Theiler to the Environmental Quality Council? Anyone in support? Seeing none, anyone would like to testify in opposition? Anyone like to oppose? Seeing none, anyone like to testify in neutral capacity? Seeing none, that will, there were no comments, online comments. That will close our hearing on the gubernatorial appointment of James Theiler to the Environmental Quality Council. Our next hearing will be the appointment of Lynn Mayhew to the Environmental Quality Council. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name's Lynn Mayhew, Lynn Mayhew. I'm currently serving as the Assistant Utilities Director for Grand Island Utilities. I oversee operations and maintenance of the Platte Generating Station, the Burdick Power Generating Station, and the Grand Island City Water System. Been there for a little over 16 years. I'm also a professional engineer, and I'm also a veteran of the U.S. Nuclear Submarine Force. I'm here to serve to represent the power generation industry. And, the toughest part of my job has been for the last 16 years is meeting the Environmental Protection Agency regulations that keep coming up. We put on scrubbers at Platte Generating Station. We put in low NOx burners to reduce noxious gases. We do air permits, water permits, discharge permits, and we work regularly with the NDE. And my thoughts on this is to represent the generation industry and to make sure that NDE understands what cost it is to keep a power generation station running.
Okay, thank you for coming here and willingness to serve. Thank you for your service as well. Any questions from committee members? One question I have, not necessarily this appointment, Mayhew, did you have any relatives distance would have come from Superior, Nebraska?
That I'm not sure of.
I'll talk later maybe. So have you had the opportunity to sit in on any of the Environmental Quality Council meetings before?
Yeah, I went to the last meeting in November.
And how do you see its function, how it's working? Are there things within it you see could be changed, could be done differently, or just your general impression of it?
With just one introduction to him, the first meeting, I didn't really get to see, they talked about, I guess the biggest thing was that then during that meeting was lead service line replacements. And I understand the cost and the need to do that. I'm currently doing that for Grand Island's water system. So,
other questions, Sir Brand?
Thank you, Chairman Bosman. Thank you for appearing today. With your background in the nuclear fleet, what do you see the future, and this is related to your appointment, but what do you see as the future of nuclear energy in the state of Nebraska?
Well, personally, I think, without nuclear energy, we don't have that dispatchable resource available for our generation needs. The big pushes go solar and wind power, but, the coal plants are getting heavily regulated, and, we're going to need some source of dispatchable resources. And the natural gas distribution in Nebraska is not quite stout enough to support, especially cold winters. I saw that in January. We were called on to run our gas turbines. Natural gas wasn't available, so we had to use backup fuel. And that's the biggest issue right now. There's not enough gas support, but we're still a long ways away from getting nuclear to back up our coal resources.
All right, thank you.
So as a representative of the power generating industry, is there subcommittees, or like that on the Environmental Quality Council that fit into different areas? I don't know if you had that much. Another meeting that they have subcommittees where those fit and where you might fit into that.
I'm not aware of any subcommittees right now.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for coming in today.
Great,
For
thank
willingness
you.
to serve. Yep. Would ask if there's any proponents for the gubernatorial appointment of Lynn Mayhew to the Environmental Quality Council. Anyone like to testify in support? Seeing none, anyone like to testify in opposition to the appointment of Mr. Mayhew? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, anyone like to testify in neutral capacity? Seeing none, we did not receive any comments online. That will close our hearing on the gubernatorial appointment of Mr. Lynn Mayhew to the Environmental Quality Council. Our next hearing will be the gubernatorial appointment of Kurt Bogner to the Environmental Quality Council. So reappointment.
Yes, reappointment.
Okay. Hello. Good afternoon, welcome.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. My name is Kurt Bogner, Kurtbogner. And as you mentioned, I'm here for reappointment to the EPC as a member of representative of heavy industry. So just a little bit about my background. I've always enjoyed the outdoors, nature, science, geology. Spent a lot of my summers backpacking and camping out in the Four Corners areas of the West. Really loved it. Really fortified my interest in geology. And during that time, I was also a Boy Scout, attained the rank of Eagle Scout. And then when I graduated from high school, actually in my freshman year in high school, I declared I'm going to be a geologist. And so I graduated, completed a bachelor's and master's degree in geology, and then launched my career. So the first 10 years of my career was spent on the environmental side and consulting. So that included some emergency spill response, but the majority of what I did was soil and groundwater investigation, delineation, and remediation. So cleaning up the messes that we already had. And then after 10 years, I moved to the industry side. The last 20 years I spent at Nucor Steel in Norfolk on the environmental team there. So that's where a bulk of my experiences come from. But my philosophy is we all have a vested interest in environmental compliance and stewardship, because we all live here, we breathe the same air and drink the same water as our neighbors. At the same time, I believe conservation means wise use. There has to be a balance. But the other thing is, especially on the heavy industry side, we used to preach this to our team, is compliance is every day. It's not when the inspectors show up, it's every day. And part of that is because environmental compliance and stewardship, it's an essential business function, just like every other. It's just good business sense. So that's kind of where I come from. A little bit about me on the personal side. My current interests are do a lot of bicycle riding. I love history and visiting Carnegie libraries. So that's a little glimpse of me.
Thank you for your willingness to serve. Are the questions from committee members? Mr. Grant.
Thank you, Chairman Bossman. You've got quite a resume. You've seen a lot of stuff. So this is kind of an off the wall question. So what's the worst environmental spill or disaster that you or your team has had to clean up over the last 30 years, 40 years?
I'll stay with more recently Nucor. In environmental, we get all sorts of calls, the environmental department. So one day we got a phone call. It's like, we just had a big rain, and they're like, have you seen the water? It's blue. It's like, well, yeah, blue, we get it. Well, then we looked out the window and it was like the color of the carpet. And it's like, that's not rain. That's something's going on. So we dispatched our team, you go this way, we're going this way, looking for the source. We got to find out what's going on. And we determined it was from herbicide spraying. And so it was in the ditches, and if you're familiar with Norfolk, the ditches go to Spring Branch Creek, and that goes into the Elkhorn River. And, fortunately I have, 10 years experience in spill response. So we actually got a hold of our on-site contractors, like, bring bucket loads of slag. We're going to dump it in the ditches. We got to stop this. And so we created check dams to prevent it from going any further. Well, it turned out that it was not our problem. It was our neighbors uphill from us. They had gone in and sprayed gravel areas to kill off the herbicides. And their contractor had literally a window of opportunity. We had heavy rains in the morning, and then there was a break of 2 hours, and then we had heavy rains in the afternoon, starting at like 1:30. And this was, believe it or not, 3 o'clock. The sun came out and the waters blew. And so we, had taken action. It wasn't our problem, wasn't our fault, but we took action to protect the environment, and we did that. The grass in our ditches was dead for the rest of the summer because it was all killed off. But we had talked about it. It's like, our first concern was Spring Branch Creek and the Elkhorn River. And you mentioned, my past history. I lived in Fort Wayne, Indiana, when the White River suffered a fish kill of about 60 miles. And that's the vision I had in my mind. It's like, no, that's not going to be us. And so we got it taken care of. We contacted the people responsible, and they got DEE involved. And basically, that's how we handled it.
All right, thank you.
Other questions? I had the opportunity to come up and tour your plant over the summer, over the interim. I appreciate that opportunity and see the functions and the environmental concerns and things that you all do at Nucor up in Norfolk, and I appreciated that. That was
good. I should add, you said, well, that was just recently. I am currently unsupervised. I retired a year ago from Nucor. So that's my team still there, and they're a bunch of great people. So
yeah, they did. It's an interesting plant, and the safeguards things that have been put in place there are needed and very impressed.
I like to call it Nucor is Nebraska's best kept secret, because not many people realize that we have a full-blown steel mill in the state of Nebraska.
Right.
So that's kind of unique and interesting.
Your experience on the council from before, is there any changes, any things you see, strengths, or that you would like us to hear about?
Nothing comes to mind. You did mention in the previous person subcommittees. In my time there, I took over for a previous guy, so I fulfilled his term, and then now I'm being reappointed. We did have one subcommittee that took a look at something. I don't know if that's something we could get more value out of, as more subcommittees as the need arises, to get some of the work done outside of the EQC meetings ahead of time, and also the work of a small subcommittee reporting to the EQC to help make things move faster. But that's kind of topic dependent. So that might be an opportunity as it arises.
Do you feel that the council works pretty well together, the members, and we'll have new members coming on, but
yes. And I know one thing that we've talked about with the EQC members amongst us is the fact that for quite a while, we've had a lot of vacancies on the various segments that are represented on the EQC. And it seems like those are getting filled by Governor Pillen, so that'll be a really good thing. With the EQC being created to kind of do the regulations for environmental regulations for the state of Nebraska, we need to have everyone's input. And without having those members, we're kind of hobbling ourselves, because we can't necessarily guess what their unique needs are for their industry or their segment that they're representing. And so it'd be good to have those positions filled and be up to more of a full board, especially as we go forward in this next year and the appointment of a new director, and, you know, that whole thing. So.
Very good. Okay. Other questions? Seeing none, thank you for willingness to continue to serve, coming down today.
Thank you for your time.
Anyone would like to testify in support of Kirk Bogner to the reappointment to the Environmental Quality Council? Anyone in support? Seeing none, anyone would like to testify in opposition? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, anyone like to testify in neutral capacity? Seeing none, that will close our hearing on the gubernatorial reappointment of Kirk Bogner to the Environmental Quality Council. Our next hearing will be on the gubernatorial reappointment of Seth Harder to the Environmental Quality Council.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, council members. My name is Seth Harder, SETHHARDER. I am the CEO and president of Husker Ag LLC, an ethanol plant in Plainview, Nebraska. And through that, I manage 4 production facilities in 2 states. We grind about 90 million bushels a year, produce about 300 million gallons of ethanol per year. I started in the industry in my 20s, and I was lucky enough to spend a large amount of time with former Senator Lauren Schmidt down here at the Capitol. So I recognize the importance of what happens down here. That's part of my appointment on the council, my commitment, if you will. The ethanol industry, by nature, has aspects that are good for the environment. So that's kind of been my push from day one. I've been doing this for 20 years in the ethanol industry, and we feel like there's a lot of opportunity for Nebraska to show the rest of the world's economies, how we can power them through a clean energy that's good for the environment, but it's also good for business and commerce. And I guess through those 20 years, I feel like, I've gained a lot of education on the intricacies of what happens at the department and what happens in the environment on a level that people can't see with their eyes. And so we've put a lot of things in over the years that have made our plant cleaner and made our industry cleaner. And of course, the federal government has a big push right now for low carbon fuels and sustainability. And, we're proud of our facility in Plainview because it qualifies for low carbon fuels into those low carbon markets. Anytime you remove carbon from the facility, that number is calculated on the amount of chemicals and the amount of energy that goes through the plant. And so as we've reduced those, we reduce our footprint, and it inherently becomes better for the environment. So I'm excited about this appointment. I appreciate it, and look forward to serving on the committee. If there's any questions.
Okay, thank you for testimony. Questions for committee members, Senator Brandt?
Who's your partner?
Well, he didn't have school today, and he begged me. He loves Lincoln. Anytime he can come down here, he wants to be here. So he loves to see things. We're going to do a little touring and make it a good day. So thanks for asking.
I see in your resume that you were extracting corn oil for the biodiesel industry. Have you guys thought about building a refinery for biodiesel?
Yeah, we have. That needs to be several facilities pushing into. I think that those need to be centrally located with many plants feeding them for an economies of scale. We've got the plant down in Beatrice that we all sell to, but the renewable diesel industry is growing pretty rapidly. So, there's a bit of a struggle between biodiesel and renewable diesel there. And with sustainable aviation fuel coming on, that corn oil is going to be worth quite a bit in that industry as well. The national market for renewable diesel is 30 billion, or for the sustainable aviation fuel, or aviation fuel is 30 billion gallons, international is 90 billion gallons, and we're looking at a 3 billion gallon push from the federal government for sustainable aviation fuel. And the corn oil and the soybean oil are direct fits for that.
Okay, let's hope so. Thank you.
Sir Jacobson.
Thank you, Chair Busselman. Mr. Harder, thank you again for accepting the reappointment and for your service there and for what you're doing in the ethanol industry. I guess my question, I'm impressed with all the folks here today. They're either being newly appointed or reappointments. But I am curious, how many are totally on the commission?
Well, there's
or on the council?
17 positions, and I think we're needing four vacancies.
How many are located west of Grand Island? Do you have any idea?
One or two, I believe, but I can't say.
Out of 17.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And basically, many of these are industry appointments. Does the governor appoint all the members or any of them
I
elected?
believe so.
Okay. And so I assume you've got industry appointees, and then there's some just at large.
Yeah, there's government, and I got to go back through them, but yeah.
Does anybody represent just agriculture, production agriculture, or?
I believe there is livestock, and then I believe there's agriculture. I got to go back through and look.
Grain as well. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Are there, since this is a reappointment, you've served one term, is this your second then?
This is my second, yes.
And is there anything that you see that you would like to share with us to highlight or concerns?
I think, we've had a little bit of a change in the director's position recently, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Dr. Macy did a good job. I think most people in the state would see that, the department has been very balanced in the last 10 years as far as providing a balance between industry and the environment. I think we've seen a lot of good changes there. So it'll be interesting to see how we move forward. We're working internally to maybe see if we can get some of the materials a little sooner. So little things like that, so we can make informed decisions at the meetings.
Other questions? Name?
What's that?
His name?
Samuel.
Samuel. Okay, Samuel. All right. Well, thank you for coming down today. Thanks for willing to continue to serve. Appreciate that. So now we'll ask anyone who would like to testify in support of the gubernatorial reappointment of Seth Harder to Environmental Quality Council. Please step forward. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Hello, good afternoon, Chairman Bostelman and committee members. My name is Tracy Minke, TraciMenke, with Renewable Fuels Nebraska, the statewide trade association for the ethanol industry. I'm here today to testify in support of the reappointment of Seth Harder to the Nebraska Environmental Quality Council, leveraging his invaluable experience as GM and CEO of Husker Ag and Lincoln Way Energy. Under his leadership, both ethanol plants have not only prospered, but have also set benchmarks for sustainability and environmentally friendly practices in both Nebraska and Iowa. Seth's deep understanding of the agriculture and energy sectors, combined with his commitment to innovative environmental stewardship, positions him uniquely to contribute to the council's mission. His proven track record of implementing eco-conscious strategies and fostering partnerships for sustainable developments reflect his capability to drive the state's environmental agenda forward. Seth's visionary leadership and practical approach to solving complex environmental challenges make him an indispensable asset to the Nebraska Environmental Quality Council, ensuring that our state remains at the forefront of ecological conservation and sustainability efforts. On behalf of Renewable Fuels Nebraska, I want to thank you in advance for your positive vote to reappoint Seth Harder to the Environmental Quality Council. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to testify in support of Seth Harder for the gubernatorial reappointment to the Environmental Quality Council? Samuel, would you like to come up and say something? If giving you the opportunity, come up and say. That's okay. All right. Any other supporters? Seeing none, anyone like to testify in opposition? Any opposed?
Might give Sam
Seeing-
another opportunity.
Anyone in neutral capacity? We did receive one proponent for the appointment or reappointment of Seth Harder. So that will close our hearing on the gubernatorial reappointment of Seth Harder to the Environmental Quality Council. Thank you all for coming down today. Thank you for being here. Thanks, Samuel, for coming down. All right, have a good day. Thank you.
We're gonna have exec.
We have an exec paperwork. Okay. We are going to go.